Hello Stampers, my name is Linda Bedinger and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Denver, Colorado. And today I have my paper pumpkin alternatives for October 2024 and it is a Christmas set and it's really very pretty, and I have made 6 cards. And normally I show Puccini at this point, but he's sound asleep. Let's just get started. Okay, here is the paper pumpkin, and it is called Nests of Christmas. And it is really a pretty set. It is supposed to make 10 cards, and these are the 2 cards, so 5 of each card. And the material is just gorgeous. Let me show you what they are. These are the card bases. There's 2 different bases. There's this one, and these are trifold cards. So this base is like this, and then this piece this piece pulls out, and then this folds over this way, and that makes up this card here, and it's got this beautiful foiling on here in this dark green. It almost looks like pretty peacock. Well, I think it's supposed to be shaded spruce, but it almost looks like pretty peacock the way it sets up. This is the second base, and this one has a piece that pulls out here, and this one folds back to make this card, and that is this one. And then the pieces that go with this, they're just gorgeous. This is the envelope that goes with this set. I'm going to move the box out of the way here. And this is the set of labels, and I think there's 2 pages of this, and I think there is maybe 5 pages of these laser cut pieces with 2 or 3 different birds and greenery and so on. And this is the stamp set, and the stamp set is Joyful Thoughts to You This Season. It says Happy Holidays, Merry is separate, and then Christmas. And then there's this little sprig of pine. There's a splatter here. These are little berries, and then this cardinal, which is here. And it also coordinates with the stamp set called Winterly Treetops. So it matches with this stamp set and some beautiful paper. And I did use a little bit of this paper. This is the sheet that I used a part of. It just had such pretty little birds on it, and it's got the same basic design that some of these sprigs with the berries, and the colors are quite similar. And it's got this bird, it's got the little chickadees as well. So I did use one card where I used a little bit of this paper. You don't have to do that, but it's really pretty. And I used this stamp on the inside of one of the cards and then just colored it with colored pencils. Also with this, you got your dimensionals. I think you got a roll of double-sided tape. The ink spot is shaded spruce, and I think that's pretty much it. Now, I made 6 cards, and of course you know that I don't make anything that they suggest. I try to give you some real alternatives. So this one is my card number 1. And what I did for this card is I used that beautiful envelope, and this envelope just fits on the front of a card. Now you have to be very careful and just take off the ever so small an edge on this bottom and on the top in order to keep the foiling in. And then I covered the whole front of my card and had it open this way. And then I took it's too long, so I cut it off at the card length, and then I used this beautiful foiled piece here and cut off an edge here and put it on the end of this card, and then I used another little piece of that foil on the inside. And you can see I swiped a piece of that foiling that goes down this way and used it on the inside to kind of bring the outside to the inside. And then I stamped those pine boughs there. I put some little red rhinestones on that one. And on this one, I used those glittered gems, and I used my alcohol marker to color these in the shaded spruce. And that was my card number 1. And I think it's just darling. And on the inside, I put a 4 by 5 1/4 piece in here, their label, because it had the foiling on it. And so I had foil here, and foil on this. And I thought that brought the whole thing together. And I used only the small bird. And on those pieces here, you'll notice that the small bird is part of this laser cutout piece. And so I cut this apart, and I cut the bird out, and then I finished fussy cutting around this bow, and that way I could use each piece independently. You can do a lot of trimming on this and get lots of different looks. They give you 10 envelopes that look like this. So, and you'll see I used this envelope in one other design, another way to use it, and I'll show you what I did with it. My card number 2 is this one, and I used that embossing folder on the white front of this card that opens this way. And I used a couple of sets of bows and this bird with its bow attached and raised those on dimensionals, and I did Happy Holidays. This was my card number 2, and I don't know if you can see that in the video or not, but I did put Wink of Stella all over that embossed image on the front of that card. And then I also put Wink of Stella on all of the boughs and berries on this. And I just put a little red bow up here. Any old red ribbon you have, this is older red ribbon, and any red ribbon or twine or whatever would look just fine up here. And then I used some of those sparkle gems, the adhesive sparkle gems, on that. And then on the inside, this is where I used the stamp from that stamp set I showed you, which is this bird here. And then what I did is, since we just learned about the Gamsol, I used my colored pencils to make him match as a little bit close to this guy. Now it's not completely, his head isn't quite as dark, but his body is darker, and it's not just as plain as this. I put a brown twig underneath him and then colored the berries. So that is my card number 2. The next one I made used that envelope again, and it used another one of these frames. And this time I cut the frame down so that it was 4 by 5 1/4 and showed a border all the way around in white. On this one, I had it cover the entire front of the card. So it has more of a statement, more of an impact. I used one little bird here with a sprig. The envelope already has this sprig on it, and I stamped my Merry Christmas. I put the Merry and Christmas together on one stamp, and I used real red. Oh, that was the other thing that was part of this kit, was these little red ribbon tags. And what they're meant to do is to go underneath this label. Let me show you here. And then the little bit of red is sticking out on either side, which is really cute, I think. On the one that I did like that, I cut the ribbon in half and had it come out more, you'll see it in a minute, so that I had more red showing. I thought it was a real clever idea. I kind of liked it. And this is a grosgrain ribbon. It's really nice. And there's I think 10 of these strips in here, and I used mine different ways. On this one, I just grabbed some twine and kind of wrinkled the ribbon in the middle and tied a knot, and then just trimmed the edges down so that it made a faux bow so that I could have that on my card. And on the inside here, I just used one of those fussy cut twigs on the inside, and I used some shaded spruce cardstock behind white to bring that color in. But there is mine. I used the splatter stamp on with the shaded spruce and added a little bit of interest on the front of the card. So that is my card number 3. Now this one was challenging because you have to get so close to the edge on that envelope. Let me grab that envelope again. You see there's not much of an edge here. So what I did was I cut out the piece that I used here and I glued it to a separate piece of paper and then glued this piece over the top and then put it on the card front. So all of that mess is behind there. And that way I got a little bit of the foiling. I got this, which was already printed on there. And this is glued right to that piece of paper that has this piece glued to it. I hope that makes sense. But it was the only way I could get enough of an edge to glue underneath this. Because, like I said, the margins on this envelope are pretty tiny. So you just have to take, gosh, you might even take your scissors and just cut along the edge on the top and the bottom so you retain as much of that border as you possibly can for some of those. Anyway, that is my card number 3. So there we have 1, 2, and now 3. And then I had the middle of that card with the foiling because I used the different pieces on the inside and outside of this one, so I had kind of a middle pattern. So what I did was I stuck it on one of these green panels like here, and I stuck it right in the middle, and then I cut down one of these panels with some 1/4-inch strips to put on either side. I cut my red ribbon in half and moved it to the outside so there was more of a ribbon showing there. It's a pretty peacock card base, and I used that because I thought it matched this foiling better than the shaded spruce did, because this is the shaded spruce color. So then I put my, I hope you can see it on the video, I'll move it around. I did my stamping here with Versamark and then into the ink and then clear embossing powder so that I got this Happy Holidays embossed on here in the pretty peacock. And I thought that would match this background a little bit. Then on the inside, I used 2 slivers of that foiled paper here just to add a little bit of color. Looks like I need to do some erasing there. And put a 3 3/4 by 5 piece on the inside to write messages. So that is my card number 5. Then I used another one of those green shaded spruce solid panels, and I put greenery above and below, did my Merry Christmas, took one of these little things and just made a faux bow, tied a knot in the middle. It was challenging because this is a very short piece of ribbon, and put my Merry Christmas on here, raised that on dimensionals, and raised the top end of the bird on dimensionals, and then glued down his tail. And I thought that came out pretty good. That way I could use this big, beautiful cardinal. And on the inside on that one, I just used some shaded spruce cardstock with a piece of white, the splatter stamp, and a few of those sprigs stamped on the inside. Very simple. Very, very simple. And the last card, my 6th card, I took one of these tags and I cut it, these ends off. And then I split it so that the top half was big enough to put the Mary on there so that it fit. And then I just glued that piece. I cut it down the middle and then glued those two pieces one on top of the other. So I got the foiling at the top and the bottom, stamped my Mary on here. And then I used some more of those sequins out of that pack that had the red, the lime green, yellow, and kind of an orange. I'm sure you've seen me use it. And I did use Wink of Stella. This was some of that beautiful paper in the coordinating paper. And I cut out this little corner down here because it had those two birds and the yellow bird, which I thought was very pretty. And I could cut my panel out to stick behind this and get lots of color and get all of those birds in there. And I used one of those die cut pieces, put my Mary on there, put Wink of Stella on the bows, and then this is a top folding card, and I put a couple of those sprigs down here with some more of those sequins down here. I used a little bit of that paper backing, that one piece that is that whole solid piece back here, and then put my white paper over the top of that to make a place to write the message. So those are my 6 alternatives for this paper pumpkin. Let me get these set here so you can see what it is I did. And I'm really tickled with the way they came out. And I need lots of Christmas cards. I send out an awful lot of them. And so I will be using all 10 of the envelopes to create cards, and then I'll just put these in a plain envelope when I send them out, and maybe do some stamping on the envelope to give it a little pizzazz. Those are my alternatives, and that is my project for the day. Thank you so much for stopping by my YouTube channel today. I do so appreciate it. And if you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, well, I'd love to be your demonstrator. So that's it for me, and I will be back soon with more cards, more tips, and more projects. Bye!